How's it going, mates? This is Mrjacharles, and we're here with Wattpad Tales, Wattpad Stories. Don't know what I'm calling it. I think I'm just going to call it Wattpad Tales at this point. But yeah, previously, we tried reading about lava cats, which was apparently going to be humorous. And, well, it wasn't. It was very serious, very gritty, kind of a thriller thing going on there. So, basically, Wattpad lied to me. It also kind of did that with the first story I did, because I asked for paranormal, and well, I got a werewolf love story. So here's the moral of the story I've learned. Whatever you try and pick from Wattpad, it'll give you something completely different. So hear me out here. What if we try for a horror this time? What if we go for the horror genre, and then maybe we'll find a comedy? I don't know, I mean, it is the opposite. My only thing that I'm thinking here is horror is something people would actually normally write. I wouldn't normally expect someone to write paranormal or humor, which is why I'm not surprised that they weren't really paranormal or humorous stories I read before. But hey, I don't know, maybe I'll end up with something nice. We'll see what we got. Alright, horror. We've got tons of... Oh, that one looks nice. Swallow. Is that a blood orange? Looks very nice. Alright, cool. What have we got? I've got a feeling all of these I'm going to want to read. Awakening looks nice. Nice little rose there. Nice little flower I can give on Valentine's Day. Probably don't want to give the wrong impression with that, though. I mean, they probably think I want to kill him or something if I did that. Alright. Patient 12. Alright, that's a cat person. I think I've had my fair share of luck with cats. I don't think I really want to do the... What was that? Has-Been Hotel. It looks like Has-Been Hotel. It looks too much like Has-Been Hotel. And that's why I don't want to... Ooh. Graphic. Dylan O'Brien. By none of you business... Or none of your business. Okay, don't forget I'm in control, baby girl. Now drop your pants. Okay, we're not doing that. Staying away from that. Okay, is there maybe like a child-friendly horror? I'm not saying this video's for kids or anything. I'd just rather not have something gory. Truthful dare. Manny's slumber party is suddenly terrorized by a harmless dare. What's the dare? I'm kind of curious there. But it doesn't exactly look well made, so I'm going to skip that one. Jeff the Killer. Oh, gotta love a classic. Yondir Family Reader. I'm amazed that I'm actually finding it harder to find something here. But that's probably because Creepypasta X Female Chubby Reader isn't exactly what I'd call ideal Sunday morning reading. She Belongs to Me. Blurry Face. I kind of want paid content now. This one looks kind of good. Oh, Fire and Feather? Oh, now I don't know which one I want. I mean, one of them was like Dark Waters, which looks nice in the symbol and stuff, but I'm not a huge mermaid fan. But then you got Fire and Feather, like two completely irrelevant things put on a title. That sounds fun. When Nova Nightingale sets out to find her missing sister in a small town, she doesn't expect to uncover dangerous supernatural secrets. Well, I want to know those secrets. Yeah, why not? I'm going to choose that just because fire, feathers, what's the relevance? Nothing. Perfect. Alright, can I go to the more first, then maybe we get to see more of that. Alright. That one is even a paid one, so I know this is good stuff. Alright, when Nova Nightingale gets into a small town, she doesn't expect to uncover dangerous supernatural secrets that challenge her understanding of reality and everything she knows. Aurora Nightingale has been missing from Hell's Cove for 3 years. Everyone assumes she's dead. Everyone, that is, except for her younger sister Nova. So when Nova is approached by a beautiful and strange boy in the wood, promising he can help her find her sister, she risks everything to strike a deal and find the truth. But it might just get her more than she bargained for. Okay, well that sounds genuinely interesting. I want to read that. Okay, there's an author's notes and there's a prologue. I'm probably going to end up reading just those two. Because for the first story we did, the wolf one, I ended up just doing the prologue. But then that was probably because it was short and I was making comments everywhere and that makes things go on longer. So I really should stop talking at some point. Alright, go on then, let's see what this has got. Hey guys, Fire and Feather was chosen for the paid stories program with Wattpad, allowing readers to support their favourite writers and writers to make income through their stories, which means this must be a pretty good story. As a result, the story is currently available for purchase using coins. Right now, the first 4 chapters are free, so you can see what you think of the story before you purchase anything. As a content creator, it can be hard to balance and prioritise passion projects versus paid work. I could keep going here, but it's probably the kind of thing where they say, thanks for the support and all that. It means a lot. Saying that, I don't know if I'm going to support them yet. I mean, for all I know, I might be ripping this story to shreds. I hope I'm not going to, but okay. It's just a matter of saying that the story's done really well for itself. That's pretty cool. All right. Okay. I really should have maybe concentrated on this more, but who the hell is Paul Mark? Something about restored relationship with Dr. Mark. Why is there a spiritual help? This seems very... Okay, you know what? It's Wattpad. You don't question it. Anything comes from Wattpad, and the comments can say whatever they want. Right, let's just see what the story's like. That really caught me by surprise. I felt like I'd just seen like a missing poster there. Oh, wait, the prologue's only a minute long. Huh, this should be interesting. Okay, prologue. Wow, it's literally just 2 paragraphs and a line. Before the first planet swirled into existence, and the sun blazed to warm the chill of an endless night, a single star, the very first one, winked to life in the infinitesimal pitch, from nothing to something, just like that. When the star died, it exploded with so much matter that it was able to create an entire and ever-expanding universe, because each time a new star formed and died, another star was born from its ashes. In the midst of that first star, something amazing was born, something beautiful and wonderful and conscious. That was the first inkling of life in the universe, formed from the energy and ashes of a dying star, born in the aftermath of a light snuffed out. She blazed brighter than anything, even brighter than the sun if she wanted to, with wings of fire and feather, skin of amber and starlight, eyes like the warm embers still dancing in the hearth once the blaze is gone. She was beautiful, she was magical, and she was lovely. Alright, well, I gotta admit, I'm in two minds about this. On one hand, very nice description and stuff, very colourful heating. I like, you begin at the beginning there, and when I say the beginning, I mean when the universe was started, so, thanks for going into detail about how the Big Bang happened. I'm not sure if this is going to be one of those stories where they're wordy because they love the sound of their own writing, or they're going to have a plot. Because let's be honest, I don't think anything actually happened there. That's my concern here. But hey, it still could be good. I mean, it has got nice descriptions. That description could be put to good use. We have to see in the next part. Alright, it's 8 minutes left, so that should be alright to do. Oh, and they even have chapter names. How about that? Chapter 1, Crumble and Collapse. 1,195 days and 9 hours. That's how long Aurora Nightingale had been missing. 3 years, that's how long it had been since Nova Nightingale had seen her sister's eyes staring back into hers. Nova blinked at the photograph pinned to the mirror by a single glittery heart-shaped sticker. Her sister's pale blue eyes peered through the camera lenses, preserved by the glossy paper the image was printed on. Her smile was wide and excited. Her arm was wrapped around Nova's then small shoulders. The waterfall from the trails off the cove cascaded into rolling foam behind them. Okay, this is actually kind of better. That whole paragraph is just beautiful. It's got something going on, there's someone lost, and there's a nice picture of like a kind of happy moment there. Maybe a little cliche, but I actually like that. Nova hadn't been back to the fall since that day. She hadn't been to the cove since last year. But here she was again, staring at the photo as she slipped on her raincoat. She thought that most of her hope had died that first year, but something in her wouldn't let her stop. She couldn't believe what the rest of Hell's Cove believed. Looking at the photo, it was hard to tell that the two girls were sisters. Rora's wide blue eyes and honey blonde hair were clearly their father's, and her porcelain freckled skin came from their mother. Contrasted next to Nova's light brown skin and warm chocolate hair, they looked like they came from completely different families. In fact, if Nova were standing next to her parents, she might be mistaken for someone else's child. Is that going to come up later? Who knows? We'll see. Nova's mother had once explained to her that she looked a lot like some long-dead great-great-grandmother on her side that supposedly has strong Native American heritage. But Nova had never seen photos of the woman, so for most of her life, Nova thought she was adopted. The only thing that seemed to prove the contrary was that she shared her mother's honey hazel almond eyes and her nose, which dipped down just slightly at the end. It was a distinct feature that might not have been considered pretty on just any face, but it somehow suited both Nova and her mother perfectly, and it was something that bonded over, frequently suggesting they should get nose jobs together, but never actually meaning it. As similar as these features were, however, they were often easy to overlook given the vast number of other differences, and oftentimes at family gatherings or in group photos, Nova looked like an outsider, but she always felt like one anyway. Okay, why did you put that at the end? I mean, she looks like an outsider. Okay, well, she looks and felt like one, I guess. That was the main takeaway from that. Okay, she glanced at herself in the mirror one last time before she turned to leave the bedroom. She looked like the tired older shell of the little sister next to Rora in the photo. Her blossom honey eyes were rimmed in the light purple from tossing and turning the night before. She reminded herself that she only had to make it through the day out of school, and then just a couple of hours, and she could rest again. It was always like this. Every year since Rora had disappeared, she had gone out to the cove to look for her. She knew she wasn't likely to find her there. She knew how ridiculous it seemed, and she knew that the cove was dangerous, but it made her feel closer to Rora, and something just kept drawing her back each year, a restlessness that drew her to the cove like an invisible rope. Nova could never sleep the night before an anniversary, and she spent most of the day on autopilot. That was how it always went. Well, I know that feeling. She descended the stairs to the kitchen. The clatter of plates and clank of mugs reached her ears before she rounded the corner and saw her mother bustling around the small space, setting plates of food carefully before her father. Nova swallowed and stepped cautiously into the room. "Good morning, sweetie," Laurie Nightingale exclaimed instantly. Sit, have some breakfast." Nova shook her head. "Thanks, Mum, but I think I'll just have some toast or something. I'm running a little behind and Cole will be here soon." Billy Nightingale narrowed his eyes at his daughter. "Your mother made all of this food," he gestured at the table. "You can spare at least 5 minutes to sit down and eat some eggs." "Alright, well, Dad seems like a dad of the year." She glanced down towards her rain boots and said nothing. Her father had never been as close to her as she was toward Rora. In fact, when she was young, the way he behaved toward her was part of the reason she had always thought she was adopted. But she clearly is. I mean, is this like foreshadowing, or is there something else going on here? Because I'd be very surprised if at the end of the story, Rora is, not adopted. Alright, but before Rora had disappeared, he at least tried to relate to her. He had at least tried to be her dad. Since Rora went missing, he hardly ever looked at Nova anymore, unless it was to scowl and chastise her. Well, dad of the day. You gotta love that dad. Gotta love that daddy figure. Laurie glanced apologetically at her daughter as Nova took a seat beside Billy. The breakfast was as Great, cool, now I'm the mistake. The breakfast was as ritualistic as Nova's yearly hike around the cove. Her mother was notorious for trying to distract herself with cleaning or cooking or extra shifts at work, though they also needed the money, and she often claimed that as her excuse. She was also notorious for trying to distract others. So, just like last year, her mother was again missing the breakfast shift at the diner to fix a morning feast for her family in an effort to distract them all from the memories that came with the day. I don't know about you, but these sentences are seriously long. I'm not running out of breath or anything, but I've got to admit, my tongue is moving a lot. Nova glanced at the time on her phone and quickly shoveled eggs onto the plate in front of her. Just as she swallowed her first bite of eggs, Cole Brighton texted saying that he was there. She finished eating quickly and stood up from her chair. How many minutes was that? Was that 5 whole minutes? Because if it wasn't, Dad's going to give you a grounding. I'm sorry, Cole's here. She glanced quickly at Billy, but didn't meet his eyes. She knew he would be angry. It had not even been 5... see? That you're going to get grounded. Or any of that time you want on the PlayStation? Any of that time you out with your friends? No, you need to make that up. With like a half an hour... no. Okay, it had not even been 5 minutes since she sat down, but just then, she would have taken any excuse to leave the table, and Cole had thankfully presented one. "Thanks for the food, Mum," she added, before turning and rushing out of the front door. She vaguely heard her father muttering complaints, and she shut it behind her, but she couldn't pause to listen. She turned to the cold rain, jerked her hood up over her hair, and ran down the drive to Cole's car. She jumped into the passenger seat, slamming the door behind her. "I'm sorry I'm cutting it so close," he said. She was being Mum. The tires splashed rain in an arch as he pulled away from her house. Cole looked as sleep-deprived as Nova felt. His grey eyes were dark, and the skin beneath them was baggy. Okay, I suppose I was thinking it was baggy there, sorry about that. His skin was ashy and pale. His black hair, usually swept back away from his face with just the right amount of gel, was unkempt. Gotta get that gel in, gotta do that modelling thing, I guess. He'd likely been up worrying about her. She had stopped texting him the night before after he'd asked if she wanted him to come with her again. He'd sent her a few concern messages after that, and she still hadn't responded. She was almost surprised he'd still shown up to drive her to school. Almost. But he was her friend. Her best friend, even. He knew her better than anyone else, and he wasn't going to abandon her just because she'd ignored him. He understood. He always had. She turned her head and stared out the window. She's still upset about last year. It wasn't a question, but he answered like it was. Yeah, he sighed. She wants me home early tonight just to make sure I don't sneak off into the death. I just wanted to do the American voice. Felt really weird doing that, but I'm going to keep it up because I need some character structure here. Sneak off to my death. He put air quotes around the last part quickly before grabbing the wheel again. She just cares, she said. I don't blame her for worrying. Yeah, but the last time something like that happened was... He trailed off, glancing in her direction. It just doesn't seem like it's happened in a really long time. And the last time it had happened before, they seemed like a long time then too, Nova breathed. It was a day just like today, you know? She fell quiet, staring at the dark clouds overhead. It was almost as black as night outside, and it wasn't even 8 in the morning yet. Well, yeah, I guess, but isn't that normal in, like, the winter? But then I suppose, this could be this haunted, creepy village, house, Silent Hill 2 place. The silence stretched on for a long moment before Cole groaned. Why do we even live here, he cried. What the hell made our parents decide to settle in a place called Hell's Cove anyway? I mean, it doesn't sound very religiously friendly, I'm just saying. Wouldn't really want to go there, might find a demon. Oh wait. She laughed humorlessly. Because nobody who lives in Hell's Cove has enough money to leave Hell's Cove. Or they have too much money and land to want to leave. And most of the families here have lived here for generations. People get stuck in their ways. Couldn't you just, walk off? Is it literally that in the middle of nowhere that you can't just, Okay, well, if they're really that poor, I'm surprised they can afford, like, a well-spread breakfast, that's all. It's called Hell's Cove because a bunch of pilgrims went missing from the first settlement. Why would anyone settle here with a history like that? He exclaimed. Because it happened a long time ago. She mocked his words from before, smiling slightly as she met his gaze. He rolled his eyes. People move on from tragedy. They find ways to explain it and cope, and they move on. She said, oh wait, she said that. For some reason I thought he said that. Some people don't, he whispered, searching her eyes for a moment before turning them back on the road. I see a love interest. She bit her lip and fought back tears as she turned away from him again, watching rain droplets trace their way back down the passenger side window. Each droplet converged into another before falling back into the air as Cole accelerated down the road. It was as if the sky was crying for Aurora. It hadn't been this stormy in a long time, it seemed. Maybe since last year. This year felt different somehow, though, Nova thought. There was something about the dreary weather and the tug of the cove that felt more urgent this time. Anxiety built in her chest like bricks laid over her heart, one by one. She couldn't understand why it would feel any different. Everything was just as it always was. Maybe just because she was nearly as old now as Aurora had been when she disappeared. Maybe because she was so close to graduating high school. Maybe it wasn't the day at all, but the fact she was growing and life was going on without Aurora there. She didn't think so, though. Something about the energy in the air and that feeling in her chest made the hope that had long dissipated come flushing back to life. Could that feeling mean that she might actually find something this time? Some kind of hint or clue to Aurora's disappearance? Cole frowned, shaking his head. As soon as we graduate, we're getting out of here, promise me? He offered his pinky to her as they pulled into the school parking lot. She ignored it. That's what my mum and dad thought too. Well, there you go. Sorry, no happy times here. We're too grumpy for that, I guess. We're thinking of our dear sister who went missing. I gotta admit, as an opening, it's pretty good. It's got the setting pretty good. It's got the struggling through life because it's so grey and dull really good. It's got a nice love interest. I'm loving everything about this, to be honest. It's the first time I actually picked something on Wattpad and got something that, I actually was aiming for. So, that was always good. What are the comments like? Yes, I'm thinking, why should she, though I'm enjoying your story, still reading? Why she describes herself, my first thought was her mother cheated. Now I definitely feel like she cheated. I didn't even realise that was happening, but then I suppose I thought she was just a bit bored, and she was like, yeah, this is life now. But hey, it could be happening, could be cheating with other characters that we don't know yet. Alright, anything else nice here? Reminds me of John from Unordinary. I don't know that. Good opening sequence and well written. And then there's links to other stories here, which is kind of cheating, and I'm not going to click on those. Alright, but that was Fire and Feather, the first chapter, and I actually really liked it. I thought it was a really good opening. Again, set the scene perfectly, and you know what, I probably would keep reading that, but I kind of want to know how long it is. Does it say how? Okay, 6 hours. That actually sounds like it could be published. Almost sounds like it should be. Maybe it's like length of chapters or something, I don't know, but like... No, I genuinely could see that in a bookstore, that's all. I mean, even with just like maybe a slightly better cover, it could work. But, you know, they got paid story on Wattpad, so it must be doing something right. I mean, I haven't got to that stage, and I probably won't anytime soon, but hey-ho. Good for this person. Good for Ariel Clontz. Very nice name. Alright, but if you want to read the story for yourself and you want to see where it goes, there'll be a link to the page in the description down below. Without further ado, leave a subscribe channel, so it's time. See ya!